Hello and welcome to our Taylor's Digital Open Day live chat. And today we have these three lovely people with us here today who are from the International Office and Student Welfare. So thank you guys so much for joining us here today. Right, so for all of you who are watching, who are just logged in, this is our Digital Open Day live chat. If you have any questions that you would like to ask to these three people, feel free to send them over and we'll answer them for you live. In fact, if you wish to talk to any one of our counselors or have a virtual campus tour, head on over to our website and you can get those over there. All right, so to start off actually, could you maybe tell us your names and maybe who you are and what you do?
Hello, hi everyone, my name is Angeline. I'm the head of International Office and Student Welfare.
Hi everyone, my name is Ali. I'm the Global Ambassador for Taylor's University from Kenya.
Hi, I'm Natsuki from Japan, and I'm also one of the Global Ambassadors, and I'm studying International Business.
All right, thank you guys so much for stepping out of your comfort zone. If you guys,
Thanks for having us.
No problem. If you guys are, feeling a little bit shy, not to worry. It's just the four of us and our lovely audiences. So not to worry. These are people who are stepping out of their comfort zone and choosing to be with us here today for you guys. So thank you guys so much. All right. So our first question is actually for Angeline. You ready, Angeline? No. She means yes. All right, so Angeline, tell me more about the International Office and the Student Welfare. What exactly are these two departments? I'm sure all our audiences who are non-Taylorians, they're unsure of what these two departments are.
Okay.
I need to chill. So.
I'll start with International Office. Okay, International Office basically handles students' visa application, so student pass. So we handle new student, international students passes. We handle the renewal as well as the student pass cancellation. That's in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now for student welfare, basically we handle students' well-being, student welfare in the campus as early as their pre-arrival, on-arrival, and post-arrival.
Mm-hmm.
So things happens like airport pickup all the way to different activities for international students to ensure that international students have a good immersion program into Taylor's University.
Right, so that's the big idea, right?
Yep.
Student welfare. So what exactly are the activities that student welfare does specifically in order to ensure the safety and ensure the smooth transition of international students like Ali and Natsuki over here that have traveled from their home countries all the way to Malaysia? What exactly did student welfare, host for international students to ease up their journey here?
Okay. So some of the activities that we do are actually like KL City Tour that are for new students upon arrival into Malaysia. And we also have different kind of activities like I think last year we actually done like African night, and we also have like Chinese Cultural Day. So there are different things that we do along the way. So it may differ from year to year. So other than that, the most important thing actually what do we do is we actually have these lovely global ambassadors who actually take care of our new students. So perhaps they might be able to tell us a little bit more about Global Ambassadors program later.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, later on in the second half of this segment, we'll be talking more about the Global Ambassadors. So hang on to your information about that later on when I ask those questions. But for now, let's get to know our fellow international students here. So Ali and Natsuki, in fact, I would like to ask you, how did you guys come across Taylor's and what made you guys decide to choose to come here?
So for me, I had family, friends and people that I knew that were studying at Taylor's before. So I'd got a certain amount of word of mouth from them. And one of the international student recruitment officers made a trip to Kenya and got in touch with my high school. And through that is where I had my first engagement with the Taylor staff, and he was super friendly. He told me about what I needed to know in terms of my interest to what to study, and that's where I got my first information about Taylor's, and it just sort of picked up from there.
Okay, cool. Natsuki?
Nowadays, studying in Malaysia is getting popular and popular in Japan, but not as much as like studying in America. So I collect all the information on the internet, and then I actually came here 1 year before entering university, and once I entered this campus, I felt like, oh, this is gonna be my campus.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
that's it. Yeah.
Wow, amazing that you have like your own little story before you decided to start your journey here at Taylor's.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. All right, cool. My next question again for Ali and Natsuki is, what was it like? Since you guys are both international students from Kenya and from Japan, right? What was it like for you guys to actually transition to studying here?
It was definitely stepping out of my comfort zone for me personally. It's definitely not easy leaving home for the first time when it's what you've grown up from since childhood. So it took some guts. But I would say overall I didn't feel out of place being here when I landed. I think the lifestyle here is such that you don't feel like an alien in an alien country. For me personally, I sort of fit in from the moment I got here. It definitely takes some time during orientation. There's that ice that needs to be broken. I'm sure that's not just here. I'm sure it would be anywhere you go. But overall, I think it was quite smooth, and I don't have one of those stories where like it was sad, or at least for me personally.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, for me, I wasn't nervous at the first time because the student welfare helped me a lot. So even though I didn't have any friend and I didn't know anything about Malaysia, like from the beginning of my life in Malaysia, I enjoyed a lot. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Wow.
Yeah.
As a Malaysian, I'm proud. Thank you. Thank you for enjoying my country.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, actually, for those of you who have just logged in, welcome to our Taylor's Digital Open Day live chat, where we are talking with these three people representing the International Office and Student Welfare. If you have any questions regarding International Office or Student Welfare, or in fact, what they do and their personal experience as an international student transitioning here in Malaysia, feel free to ask and we can answer them for you live. In fact, if you wish to talk to any one of our counselors or even have a virtual campus tour, please feel free to head on over to our website and you can get those as well. Alright, so we actually, speaking of which, have questions from the audiences. Cool. Thank you guys so much. Please keep them coming and let's see what they have. So our first question here is, what's your biggest culture shock and how did you overcome it? So it sounds like a question for our two international students.
For me, the biggest culture shock was the language. Culture shock in the sense, as much as everyone speaks English here and English is what is spoken on campus, trying to fit into the more little conversations or into little groups, people speaking Bahasa or Mandarin was the hardest part for me to jump into. But I guess it's something that it's not something that you can expect to break in your first entrance. It takes some time and it takes some getting people to get used to you more than you getting used to them. But over time, it really smoothens out. And once you get to know the people and they understand how you're used to conversing, it becomes a lot easier. So I think that was the biggest challenge that I faced, but was overcome as quickly as I found it. So.
Okay, that's good. Happy to hear that, Ali.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, so Natsuki, what was your biggest culture shock and how did you overcome it?
For me, it was language as well. Like, I was really confused when I first encountered Malay, English, like Kala or something. Yeah.
Malay English, yes.
Yeah.
Manglish, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Well, thank you so much, guys. I'm sure for those of you who are watching, I'm sure maybe if you come to Taylor's, you'll be able to relate to them. And in fact, if you come over to Taylor's, maybe you get reported by our student welfare, by these two as well. And then you can ask them more questions regarding how did they overcome their language barrier here in Taylor's. All right, so we have another question from the audience, which is, what's the most common question or the most common problem asked by an international student? So it sounds like something that you'll be used to.
I think for international students, I think the number one question is always about visa.
Visa.
Yeah, because it's something that it's not something we grow up having to do.
Yeah.
So being in a foreign country, okay, and I think it's like what to do, when can I get my visa, and so forth. All these are important, but actually all this information they can actually get it from the student portal. We actually have an FAQ, a frequently asked question, all loaded into the student portal. But if that doesn't work, they're more than welcome to walk into student welfare or international office and ask any one of our counselor or even actually any one of our student ambassadors.
Fantastic. All right, thank you. All right, so we have one more question from the audience. Okay, so why did you choose to study in Malaysia and Taylor's? Okay, so sounds like a question for our 2 international students.
So the primary reason that I came here was the education here is much more affordable than other places.
Affordable? Is it?
So compared to studying in the UK or
yeah.
studying in the US or studying in Australia, this is a lot easier on the pocket, I'd say, in terms of tuition fees and living cost. I think living cost is one of the bigger factors more than the tuition fees, because the money that you spend just on yourself I'd say a week is a lot less here than what I would be spending in Australia. I can go get a 2 ringgit nasi lemak on the road and be satisfied for some time.
Yeah, true. 2 ringgit nasi lemak. Yeah.
And to satisfy someone like me isn't very easy. But so that's the primary reason. Another reason is from what I heard from the people that I told you about that I heard studying here before, is the way they convinced me that the place is so friendly for a new person. And I thought when they were telling me that, I didn't know if Taylor's was paying them some money to talk nice, but when I came here is when I realized that it's a reality. When people say that the culture here is very friendly, or the people that surround us are very friendly and open to accepting new people, from someone that studied in university back in Kenya or in a place like the UAE, I think this is one of the most open-minded, culturally accepting place because of the diversity here. So I think it just comes naturally to Malaysians and the society at Taylor specifically.
Okay, thank you, Ali.
Yeah.
Right.
For me, the first reason was, money. But when I actually came to Malaysia for the first time to visit some college and university, I really like the people, and they're so friendly, and weather is nice and food is amazing.
Thank you. I'm not the country,
but and one thing, Malaysia is like multicultural country, so I wanted to be in the country which has a lot of culture. So in Japan, you can't experience the cultural diversity. I mean, as much as you can in Malaysia. So.
Well, we're really glad that you guys were able to find what makes you happy, which is your 2 ringgit nasi lemak and your cultural diversity. We're really glad to give you that here in Malaysia. Thank you guys so much for joining us. All right, so we're going to move on to the next question, which is again for our 2 international students, which is what was the most difficult thing that you encountered coming to Malaysia?
The most difficult thing that I encountered was the independence that I had to find in myself. When we live at home, especially coming from a place like Kenya where you have everything done for you, I wake up and breakfast's on the table and my shoes are polished and I just have to put everything in and get to school, which is how life is there. You have to be way more independent here. You have your own responsibility. No one's gonna wake you up in the morning to get to school, or no one's gonna make your breakfast and say, "I hope you've eaten well before you go." You have to do those things for yourself, and I think these are skills that, when you know you have to do it, you pick up on them very quickly, and then you become confident in your routine, which becomes university life. It's just about finding the balance between responsibility and just not being too strict on yourself, which is where it gets a bit complicated. But I think that was the hardest part.
Right.
But again, was overcome. So
right.
I don't think it's impossible to do. Definitely.
Right. Well, thank you, Ali. We're really glad to hear that. Right. Natsuki, what was the most difficult thing that you encountered coming to Malaysia?
Actually, I can't remember, because every time I found something difficult, there were always my friend who could help me. So
Oh.
exactly. Yeah. So yeah. At last, it like all the. It's not a bad thing, but like difficulties turn into good memories. So
Oh, that's
yeah.
very good.
We're really glad to hear that you have like supporting friends who can help you throughout any difficulty that you have. Thank you, Ali.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
All right, well, just a friendly reminder, for those of you who have just logged in, welcome again to our Taylor's Digital Open Day live chat. If you have any questions regarding all things international office or student welfare, transitioning lives for international students, feel free to ask them and we'll answer them live for you. In fact, if you wish to talk to any one of our counselors or even have a virtual campus tour, you can head on over to our website for those things. All right, so moving on to the next question is actually for Angeline this time. So one question is, how can students contact your department if they have any issues? So it sounds like if you're an international student and you come to Taylor's and you meet an issue, how can they contact your department for your support?
Okay, if student is already in campus, they can actually walk in to the international office. Okay, we're located at Block A, level 2. But if not, student can also access, they can always drop us an email at internationaloffice@taylors.edu.my. So either way, it works. But we really prefer a face-to-face because it's always easier when we can speak to the students and we can understand you better.
Oh, that sounds really good. It sounds like you guys give face-to-face service for students who may have like a really big issue and like need solutions now, not solutions, but need support right now. Yeah, that's really good. Face-to-face is always really good as opposed to like having to wait for replies and stuff. All right. So our next question here is, we've actually come to the part where we can ask more about the global ambassadors.
Wow. Okay.
All right. So actually, yes. So throughout the segment, you guys have mentioned a little bit about global ambassadors. So for the audience who may have no clue about what this is, perhaps you could enlighten them as to what exactly is a global ambassador. Is it under student welfare? Who's part of it? What do you guys do? Yeah, what's all that about?
Okay, perhaps I'll start first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. Okay. Global Ambassador is basically an initiative under the Student Welfare Department. So what we do is we understand that for youngster like you, talking to an old person like me, sometimes there's a generation gap. Okay.
Angeline, you're quite young. Don't worry about that.
But I'm quite sure that if you want to talk to a young girl, that will be a preference.
No, as long as the person I'm speaking to is from the relevant office, I'm fine.
But okay, on a serious note, basically, just to help a student get immersed easier, it's just like what Natsuki had shared earlier. She said that friends actually help her to overcome a lot of issues. I think that's great because that is part of, I think, a global ambassador program. That's what we want to do. That's what we want to instill. So Ali was actually in it, and Natsuki was slightly a junior compared to Ali. And so you see, they have been helping one another. And right now, we hope that this will continue on. So we are actually recruiting more global ambassador to help other new international students so that they feel a little bit more at home, faster, easier.
Okay, cool. Actually, I think that's really good. Before you guys continue, I just want to add on really quickly. I think that's really good because for an international student perspective, coming into another country, if I were to get support from a fellow international student, I would feel a lot more safe, relatable, and things like that. So I think that's a really good initiative and a really smart way to tackle that comfortability hurdle when it comes to giving that safe space for international students. All right, so from the students' point of view, actually, could you tell us a little bit about the global ambassadors as a global ambassador yourself?
So I think primarily our role is to make the new international students that come in feel comfortable from the get-go. That's what it's all about. So the first time that I get in contact with an international student would be during the student reporting, which is the first place that an international student has to come to when they sign up at Taylor's. So that's when I meet them for the first time, and the objective is to make them feel as comfortable as possible, answer their questions, and guide them through the whole installation process at Taylor's. After that, it's all about people taking my number and then asking me about more questions about what will make their life easier. So I get a lot of questions about accommodation, where can they stay, where can they get good food, what kind of budgets are they expected to live on, because these are people who've probably never lived, if not from Malaysia, somewhere in Asia or from somewhere else. So they don't know what to expect in terms of how much money they should be budgeting every month or what kind of accommodation they should be staying in. So those are the kinds of questions I get. And then another frequently asked question I get is about clubs and societies. So a lot of people ask me about what we can do around here as a hobby, or what kind of things we can pick up on, workshops and skills and things like that. So I think primarily, that's what I've been doing. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. And Natsuki, could you tell us a little bit about your experience as a global ambassador? Because I also understand that you're actually a junior to Ali, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so perhaps you could share with us about your experience and what's it like, learning from your seniors and stuff like that.
Okay, so firstly, I was not going to be a global ambassador because I'm really, really shy. But luckily, one of the member from Student Welfare Office invited me to join the global ambassador. And okay, I will try. And yeah, it was kind of challenging for me at first, but the office actually provide us like communication training. So yeah, through the activities, I gained confidence a little bit more.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Ali, are you the person that invited her?
No.
Oh, okay.
I met her through it anyway, but I think from what she's saying, I could have seen the change from Natsuki before joining the program and Natsuki now, so you've done well for yourself.
Thank you.
Wow, that's so wholesome. I love it that our students are developing themselves. That's so cool. All right, so just once again, a gentle reminder to all of you. For those of you who have just logged in, this is our Taylor's Digital Open Day live chat where we have these three people representing International Office, Student Welfare, and international students as well. So if you have any questions, please feel free to send them over and we'll answer them for you live. In fact, if you wish to talk to any one of our counselors, you can, or even have a virtual campus tour from the safety of your own home, feel free to head on over to our website. Alright, so in fact, speaking of which, we actually have questions from the audiences. So another question that we have is, let's see, what kind of advice would you give to your past self after knowing that you'll be coming here? So basically, now that you're already here and you know your experiences, after your experience being a Taylorian, what's the advice that you would give to your past self?
I think the advice I'd give myself is to have been more open from the get-go. I think I was very rigid in my thinking from initially when I got here, and I feel like the life here is what opened me up gradually, and that's how I got into doing the things that I'm doing right now. So I would have advised myself to have been more open from the minute I landed and then see where I'd have been right now.
Wow, okay. Yeah. That's good. We're glad to hear that. Right. Natsuki?
I think, I know, everyone, when you come, for the first time, everyone is nervous.
Yeah.
But yeah, people here are actually really, really friendly and helpful. So just be yourself and enjoy. Yeah, that's it.
Fantastic. All right, so we're going to move on to the next question. Our next question here is, how did it feel coming to a new country to pursue your studies, and how did the international office support you? So I guess before you guys became global ambassadors, right? How did it feel coming to a new country to pursue your tertiary education, and then how did Angeline's office support you before you guys decided to join her?
This is the criticism session for your office.
Okay, feel free.
Yeah, so I made it all better. I'm kidding.
So guys, if you come here, just look for him.
So I think mentally I was already prepared coming to Taylor's. I knew that it wouldn't have been easy. So it wasn't that shocking in the sense where I didn't think it would be hard and then it ended up being hard. I knew it would have been hard and that kind of lived up to my expectation. But even before the Global Ambassadors initiative, student welfare had always been there, and student welfare was always supporting students like me in what we needed. I think I still got the same information that I'm giving out. The reporting was done for me by staff, which I didn't feel like they were old. But
Thank you.
I think I still got delivered the primary information that I needed. So, more than that, I think I was still nervous. Just like Natsuki said, initially when you come, you're very nervous and anxious about what life is going to be. And I think more than that, I was just excited to get into the routine. But the office basically handles your visa renewal process, your visa endorsement process, and then medical insurance. And I did have to go to hospital, just being unwell from the travel and stuff. And they guided me through the whole thing, and the system is very smooth. The staff are friendly, so all in all, I was happy with the service that I got. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. So Natsuki, what advice? What was the question again just now? How did it feel to pursue your education here in Malaysia, and how did the international office support you?
How did I feel? Actually, it was not my first time to study abroad.
Oh.
So, like, I was not that, panicking. But, like, I was kind of confused because I had a lot of things to do. But once I came to the campus, is it student helper? Was it student? Yeah, it was actually you.
That was me. Yeah.
He helped me to do all the reporting and stuff, so yeah, I could start my life here without any fear, and yeah. It was good.
I'm really happy to hear that kind of feedback. To give context to the audience, I'm also a global ambassador, and I helped Natsuki transition into Taylor's. So yeah, that was a little bit of context. I'm really happy to hear that sort of feedback. Thank you, Natsuki. I was not expecting to getting it at this session. All right, we're actually almost done with this segment. But before we end, we have one final question, which is, what advice would you give to international students thinking about joining Taylor's? So this is a question that all three of you can actually answer. For all international students out there watching this right now, what advice would you give them about thinking about joining Taylor's?
Shall I start?
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay. I think my number one advice is do not be afraid. He told me to step out of my comfort zone. I did. That's why I'm talking to you right now. But I think it's great, especially for new students, for international students. I feel that going abroad is actually an opportunity to widen your horizon. You learn more, you learn to be a bit more independent, like what Alif mentioned. So there's a lot of things for you to actually get out of it. So just step out of the comfort zone and don't be afraid.
Okay.
Right.
I think for me, just like Natsuki said earlier, the only thing I'd tell everyone was to just be themselves. The society here isn't one where you have to live up to. There's no expectation on new students here. As much as you might feel it when you sign up, you feel like you need to be a certain way to be able to fit into university life. It's nothing like that. As long as you just come here, be yourself. Within the campus, we have things that people of all sorts of backgrounds or interests can fit into. Just do what you love and be who you are, and you're gonna love your experience.
Yeah, I think Taylor's is really, really good place to study especially for international students. Yeah, I know you need a bit like energy to push yourself to leave family and leave your own country, but once you come to Taylor's, I'm pretty sure that you will get a lot of friends, and you can feel that you actually grow every single day. So yeah.
Wow.
Right, wow. Fantastic. All right, we have come to the end of our segment. If you've just logged in, welcome. This is our Taylor's Digital Open Day live chat. We've just ended our segment, but not to worry. We'll be actually coming back very soon. Right after this, our next segment is regarding the setup. So please stay tuned for that, as we'll have another segment dedicated to the setup and asking more questions regarding that. Thank you guys so much for watching throughout. And thank you guys for actually joining us today and being representatives to answer all our audience's questions. Thank you so much. Also for stepping out of your comfort zone. All right, and we'll stay tuned for the next segment. And yeah, let's say bye to the audience.
Bye.